Hey, it's Mazzy here, and welcome back to the channel. I want to talk about Moby Grape's Wow. I was at the lake working on a lakeside chat video, and it occurred to me to talk about this album, Wow, and the adjoining Grape Jam album because of a song or a piece of music, an experimental avant-garde psychedelic soundscape called Lake on that album. And I recorded it and I have it scheduled after 4th of July on the 11th. I'm not sure if I'm going to post that now because as I started thinking about it, I came home and I listened to Wow again and Grape Jam, and I've grown to love this album. And I might just use this as a one-off, and maybe if I'm lazy and I don't get back to the lake in time, you'll see a slight repeat, a different take off the cuff of it at the lake. So maybe you'll see that, maybe you won't. Maybe I'll save that for a rainy day or behind the scenes future video. We'll see. But this came out in the spring of 1968, and I remember going with my parents, driving from San Francisco down to Palo Alto to meet my grandmother and grandfather at their place. And there was a town and country center with a record store, and I bought this album. So that would have been pretty soon after it came out. I had gotten into Moby Grape, obviously, because of the whole San Francisco scene, that debut album in 1967. I'm going to talk about that because I think this story is important, and I think Moby Grape was possibly the unluckiest band out of the San Francisco psychedelic ballroom band movement. They did some psychedelia, but they were more than that. And I think that's why, as a young 13, 14-year-old, I didn't grab onto this album as much, because this album contains even though there's a little bit, a hint of psychedelia on here, there's a lot of country roots music, a little gospel, bluesy, folksy style that just wasn't in my scene. I was into that scene. Obviously, everyone from the Beatles, all these bands had folk music. I love folk music, but for some reason, that bluesy gospel side of this, the vocal harmonies, even though I like them, they're in more of a country side that I wasn't quite into yet. Of course, the Byrds would bring me more into the country thing, even though the Beatles did some country. And all the bands have a lot of bands had a little country influence, even the Kinks later. Of course, the Rolling Stones, we know that. But this is a beautiful album. Bob Cato, I think he was the in-house designer at Columbia, put this cover, this surrealist cover. What a wonderful cover image this is. A cover design in the gatefold record, produced by David Rubinson, who also produced the first Moby Grape album. David Rubinson, I think, was a staff producer at Columbia and worked on a lot of these bands at the time. He worked on the first few Santana records, obviously Moby Grape albums, and just did some great, great records. He would later buy San Francisco's Columbia house studio on Folsom Street, turn it into the Automat. But he did a great job. This is a more produced album than the first album, the debut album, which is a killer record. I'm going to get into that in a bit. But this album was unique. And again, it took me years to grow into it. And now I absolutely love it. And playing it again today, I just realized it's better. It's kind of like the individual songs don't always flow together. And I know this is a time, a post-Sgt. Pepper time where everyone was trying to do all these different effects and genres and mix things up and recording techniques. And this is here. There's orchestration, there's string instruments, there's brass instrument, there's motorcycle effects and backwards tapes occasionally. But I don't see this as a psychedelic album per se, although there are definitely psychedelic flourishes in it. Murder in My Heart for the Job. Now this, I'm going to just go by this and just talk a little bit about it, some of the tracks on here, but this is not jive. This does not jive to the actual track list. It's not in order. You have to go to the gatefold in here, the song track list there, and to see the proper track list. So Murder in My Heart for the Judge is written by Don Stevenson, and it's a fabulous song. It fades in. There's a certain gospel-y country thing to it. It's been covered by a lot of artists. It's kind of probably the most popular song of this album that's been covered. I think Chrissie Hynde covered it, Three Dog Night covered it, as well as others. But it's got just a great vibe to it. Bob Mosley's song Bitter Wind on here also is a beautiful, beautiful folksy song as well. The strangeness to this album is the final song on side 1, written by Skip Spence. Now, a couple of the band members here went through sort of drug-infused mental health issues, Skip Spence being one of them. And Skip Spence wrote this song just like Gene Autry, A Foxtrot. He had been in the Jefferson Airplane on the first album, kicked out of that band, pushed out of that band. He would produce an album post Moby Grape called Ore that's become this great cult, freak folk, brilliant record. Bombed in the day, one of the worst sales of any Columbia record at the time. Just a terrible record. And people didn't really get it. I didn't get it. I actually got it, but didn't get it and finally traded it in way back, which is, that's the original copies of that go for good money these days. Sundays would later reissue that, including an expanded version. That's another story for another day. In fact, search on my channel for Skip Spence, or I did an archive sessions, archive book release on that record, because it is a really good atmospheric folk spacey record. I love it. But on here, there's all the members, or most of the members, were songwriters in their own right. And there's some great things. Peter Lewis opens up side 2 on here, a song called He. Peter Lewis happened to be one of the sons of the actress Loretta Young. And I don't know what that matters, but it's just kind of a cool little factoid here. That song is, to me, one of the most beautiful songs. There's a certain atmosphere, that lush strings. Now, you could get really kind of, strings could be schmaltzy sometimes. And as beautiful as they are here, it's on that verge of schmaltziness, but is a brilliant version, especially now at my advanced age. I appreciate it so much more. And then it kind of flows into Motorcycle Irene, another Skip Spence song, with motorcycle sound effects, revving up the engine and everything. Just a great rocking blues number. Love that song on here. 3/4 is a great thing. Funky Thunk by Skip Spence and Jerry Miller. Rose-Colored Eyes, Miller's Blues, and another version of Naked If I Want To. And now Naked If I Want To was one of my favorite, ever so short. I think it's a 1-minute piece, acoustic folk country thing on the debut album by Moby Grape. And they do more of a revved up electronic version electric version, I should say, on here. But Miller's Blues is just a kick-ass, upbeat blues jam song, which leads into the bonus record on this album. Now, I'm going to talk about that because that's part of the story here. In 1968, when this came out, it was paired with Grape Jam. Full cover, separate cover, not an extra double disc with us in the same gatefold. This had, obviously, its own cover. When it was shrink wrapped together, this would be on the other side of it. So you'd get it shrink wrapped like this, okay? So you didn't even know the track lists on these things. I believe there might have been a hype sticker. I don't remember now. And what I love about this, these were the days where you could get away with not even having the artist's name. Subsequent editions would have either a sticker or just printed on here, Moby Grape or Wow or something. But I just kind of love this. This is like the closest hint that this was a Moby Grape album with that logo from Moby Grape, somewhat of a logo. Now, the story with Moby Grape is somewhat tragic, too, because of their management, Matthew Katz, who just passed away about 2 years ago or so. And I'm not going to get into the details of that, but in my opinion, I'm not the only one. He kind of damaged this band in so many ways. Bad contracts, not with the labels, I don't think, but with him and his artists, including Moby Grape, It's a Beautiful Day, kind of owned the name. So for years, subsequent years, Moby Grape couldn't use the term Moby Grape. There were offshoots with just the word grape, the Grape Band and on. Same with It's a Beautiful Day, David LaFlame's Whitebird and David LaFlame's Beautiful Day, this whole ongoing saga. And I'll get into that in a little bit. But what's interesting about this, again, for $1 more, you got this free bonus record. Well, you got it for $1 more. And this didn't get a lot of great reviews at the time, nor did this. I think people didn't understand it, including myself. But I really like the jamminess of this record. Now, a lot of this record was recorded in New York City, I believe at Columbia Studios. And while they were playing, David Rubinson ran the tape, and some of the New Yorkers who were working on projects and some of the other musicians would come in and out. And two musicians who had been occasionally collaborating, obviously collaborating with Bob Dylan a couple of years prior, were Al Cooper and Mike Bloomfield. And this is a jam on several of the songs. I believe was it 2 or 3 of the songs on here. 2 of the songs are Al Cooper, Jerry Miller, Don Stevenson, Bob Mosley, and then Mike Bloomfield, Jerry, Don, and Bob. And it's just jam sessions. Now, obviously, the next year, later this year, we'd have super sessions, which kind of, did it come out of this? Was it an idea of this? With Al Cooper, Mike Bloomfield, and of course, Stephen Stills. That became a massive hit, a surprise hit for a lot of people. George Harrison's All Things Must Pass would have an extra jam label, Apple Jam, and a lot of people think of this stuff as throwaway stuff, but it's kind of cool, especially now historically with the musicianship. The opening song on the Jam record, side 1, is called Never by Jerry Miller and Skip Spence. And supposedly, it's another one of those songs influenced Led Zeppelin in writing a song that sounds suspiciously like Never. I think I need to put the name of the song right here because I forgot the name of that song. So listen to that song and then listen to Never and see if you feel. Now, it's a standard blues tune, so you could argue that all the blues sounds the same and everyone is taking blues and twisting it and turning it and improvising it in their own way, and there's some truth to that. But boysenberry jam on here, remember apple jam, right? We got all the fruit jams here. Black currant jam, so you get it. You get the Moby Grape theme going on here with the jams. Obviously, these titles, except for Never, probably Never, were thrown in here after the fact, after the recording of the jam. And then it opens up side 2 with Marmalade. All the jams, all the friggin' jams on here, on Grape Jam. Now, I want to talk about the final song on side 2 here, which is 4 minutes and 4 seconds, and it says The Lake by Michael Hayworth. Now, The Lake. In 1967, I believe, there was a contest on KFRC radio in San Francisco. In conjunction, at the same time, and I guess it was I'm not quite sure how that was arranged because I'm just thinking these artists are on different labels. So in conjunction, there was a contest in Los Angeles with a radio station, and you would send in your poetry. I actually entered this contest. I was a 13 and a half year old, and I wrote poetry and sent it in to try to get on the next Moby Grape album. The winner of the contest, their lyrics would appear on the next Moby Grape album. I wish I had or remembered what I wrote. I have no idea to this day. I didn't keep a copy. I have no idea. That would have been so cool, having your lyrics on a Moby Grape album. Now, in Los Angeles, the winner would have their lyrics on the following Buffalo Springfield album. And last time around was that last hybrid album of Lost Tracks and a few new things. And they basically split up, and that album came out. And there's one song, I can't remember the name of it right now. Again, I'll put it right here. It's the opening track on side 2, and the lyrics were written by someone. Now, these lyrics for this, The Lake, were written by Michael Hayworth. And what they did, instead of writing a proper song, it's really probably the most psychedelic recording that Moby Grape ever made. It's one of those montage oral sensations. And This is early 1968. It's kind of like a little more structured, if you could call it structured, version of Revolution Number 9. There's sound effects, there's poetry. So the singer, or the voice of the band who sings it, I'm not sure which member, basically recites the lyrics through these montages of sound and swirling things and some piano bits. And at the very end of the song, you hear The Lake by Michael Hayworth. Kind of cool, right? Can you imagine if it was whatever thing I wrote by Norman Maslow? I would have been pumped. But I think this has appreciated, it's kind of like a fine wine. The longer it simmers, the better it gets, especially this album. There's a lot of variety. There's no consistency really to it. But again, the soulful gospel, country, folksy flavor, it's not a proper psychedelic album at all, except there are a few bits of psychedelia in. But again, they're not that band. And the thing about Moby Grape, they were like a hot band live. I don't know if they were the best. I only saw them once initially. That was in 1969, pretty much at the end of their initial career, after two of the members kind of left, and it was all over for the time being until years later. On the 50th anniversary of the Summer Love, the remaining living members did a thing, Golden Gate Park, and I saw that. But that's a whole different thing. But I think they're an important band, and three guitar players plus a bass player and a drummer. So they were a tight rockin' band. They were shorter and sweeter than all the other bands in terms of their songs. They didn't do as many long-gated jams like The Dead or even The Airplane in the day or Quicksilver. This is the debut album. Let's talk about this a little bit. This is a killer record, probably one of the best rock and roll records of the San Francisco scene at the time, 1967. Cover photographed by the great photographer Jim Marshall. There's a picture at Bill Graham's Fillmore on the back. This is the original album, the original stereo album. Again, cover photo by Jim Marshall. Now, this is recorded or photographed, I believe, I used to know this, an antique store maybe in Mill Valley, California. Not quite sure. It could be in San Francisco. I don't remember. For whatever reason, when this came out, right there is an American flag. It's red. Or they painted it red, or they retouched it red, because they didn't want to show this patriotic thing or something. Remember, this is right in the midst of the Vietnam War and civil rights movements and the turbulent 60s. And I don't know if that was quite the smartest thing to do, and why bother? I didn't even notice it for decades, and until it was called out years later, I had no idea. Of course, later, the issue in the 70s, it was kind of reconfigured, and of course, their name was a little more prominent, at least in white, opposed to the purple. I kind of like this one better. Of course, in this case, they have the song lyrics. In this case, the flag is black. So you got a black flag there. You got a red flag there. You can see here also the flipping off the finger over the washboard was retouched out. So there is the retouched version. There is the original version. Go figure. And of course, all throughout the late 60s and the 1970s, Columbia would include this poster with this cover photograph by Jim Marshall. I just love this. And again, here, they didn't bother retouching out the finger on the posters. I don't think any of the posters. But if you find this record with a poster, it's even worth more. Not that the worth of records mean anything to me, but it's fun to have the inserts and these kind of things, especially on a Moby Grape album. So the debut Moby Grape album opens up with a good kind of country, bluesy, fast rocker called Hey Grandma, a kicker song written by Jim Miller and Don Stevenson. And it's a great opener for this record. It's not the hit. It's not the best song, but it's a kick-ass opener. It goes into Mr. Blues again. That is by Don Mosley. And that is, again, an old bluesy number. And I think that's part of the thing. I wasn't really into a lot of this blues stuff at the time. I appreciated the way the British artists were bringing us the blues. But this isn't a psychedelic blues version. This is just a straight out rock and rolly, rock and bluesy thing, which is incredible now, and I appreciate it now more than I did at the time. Then it goes in Fall on You, beautiful song by Peter Lewis. But after that, number 4, one of the most beautiful songs on this record is a song by Don Stevenson called 805. And the story of that goes, he was crossing the Golden Gate Bridge from Marin County, and as soon as you get to the toll plaza, there's this giant clock, and he was passing through 805. Don't know if it was the morning or the night, probably the night, right? And he wrote that song, and it's, to me, one of the most beautiful songs. Great guitar, acoustic, folksy feel to it. What an incredible song. Then it goes into Come On in the Morning, another Mosley number. Then track 6 is a song that should have broke for Moby Grape, and that's the song Omaha, written by Skip Spence. That's a magnificent number. It's a rocker. It's in your face. It's all those guitars just going together, and the way it comes in with this sort of explosion, it fades up, and you hear this just knock, and then it kind of kicks in. Just a killer song. And unfortunately, Columbia fucked this band up. In their promotional wisdom, they released 5 singles at once. 5 singles. The whole thing about radio and record promotion is promoting a single, pushing on a radio, getting DJs to play it. And when you're pushing 5 singles out at the same time, radio doesn't know what to play, and it's a hodgepodge. And sometimes, since they don't know what to play, they don't play anything, or different stations play this song and that song. And so you probably had regional stations playing different things. Omaha should have been the kickoff single. Then maybe an 805 with a beautiful folky side of it. Hey Grandma too. But Omaha could have been a kick-ass breakout song. I think Hey Grandma was covered also by The Move in the UK, did a great version that Roy Wood sang that, as I recall. And then it ends with a Naked If I Want To. Now, this is the original version, the acoustic version with these beautiful acoustic guitars. On Wow has the electric version, a little more swampy, a little more bluesy. But this is a kick-ass version on here. Just lately playing Wow, I appreciate Wow so much, because for so many, even back in the day, Wow was sort of a disappointment, not only for some of the fans, but for the critics. Although Wow hit the top 20. The first album did not on Billboard. And so it hit number 20. I don't know in terms of ultimate sales figures, but it wasn't an album that totally stiffed. It didn't lift the band to a future. Moby Grape did sort of limp along over the years, released a number of albums. In 1969, they put out an album, Moby Grape 69. This is kind of the last version of the band with most of the original members, but obviously you have Skip Spence, who fell off the Grape wagon here, but he got as a great quartet, a good album. And again, there's some good rootsy stuff on this album. They're not bad albums. They did an album called Truly Fine Citizen. They did a live album also. This is an album I have that came out in the 80s. This is a strange comp by Etzel. Now, Etzel is obviously the reissue label out of the UK. This is called Moby Grape, Murder in My Heart. It's not one album. It's sort of a comp. It doesn't have all the hits. It doesn't have Omaha. It has Murder in My Heart for the Judge and He and Motorcycle Irene. So it has some of the songs from Wow. It's just a strange selection of songs, not consistent. But my guess is, Matthew Katz again, not allowing record companies to put these out. Now, the last part of this video, I want to talk about the catalog, where it stands right now. This is one band that deserves a reissue program, and it's been problematic. There's certain artists that, because of legal entanglements and issues with management in this case, that these records are not in print, not available now, aside from a random CD, a best of. But in 2008, Sunday's Records did a reissue program, a small one, of 3 of their albums. The first 3 of their albums, or the first 3.5 of their albums, I should say. They put out the debut. Obviously, this is with the red flag, and you get the finger full on. This is the mono version, which is a kick-ass, solid rock and funky, country-esque record. Great record. A killer record, obviously, as I said earlier. They put out this one. Now, I didn't buy the LPs right away. I have a stack of CDs here. I'm going to kind of just go through quickly. At that point, I was buying more CDs. But a number of years later, after they stopped putting these out for a cease and desist, I found this. These were sealed. I kept them sealed, something I rarely do. But these are Sundays, Wow, and of course, Grape Jam. You could buy these separately. Sundays did a magnificent job on those. And of course, what they did were the CDs. This is the Sunday CDs of the debut. Now, this has extra tracks on here, some studio recordings, and unissued tracks on here. They reissued Wow, and Wow also has some alternate versions and demo versions of some of the tracks. They put out Grape Jam with 3 extra jams. And around the same time, Columbia put out Listen, My Friends, Moby Grape, a one-off best of comp, which is actually an excellent comp on here. Now, some years earlier, Columbia did do Moby Grape, the very best of Moby Grape vintage. And this is a Fat Boy double CD, which is also excellent too. Unfortunately, after these records, after these Sundays records, I don't know how long, I bought them all on CD. I didn't get all the records, as I said. Matthew Katz sent a cease and desist, and Sundays records basically had to stop distributing them. And I don't know if they were destroyed or what happened, but it wasn't long. I don't think they were even at a month. But again, another cease and desist. Bob Urban had licensed them from Columbia, and Matthew Katz came in. You'd think, as the manager of that name, of that band, you'd want those records out for fans of the band. And, you know, if you're a good manager, if you're a good agent for a band, you want to really promote the band and get their work out there for fans. And so to this day, as far as I know, there are no good CD or vinyl versions of this catalog. They also did, Sundays actually did, I think this is the last one, I think they just did 69, Moby Grape 69. After this, I don't think they got to the whole catalog, but that's what they did. I don't think they did Truly Fine Citizen, not quite sure, but those are the ones that I have. And to this day, we need a catalog. Now, hopefully, with the passing of Matthew Katz, his estate hopefully will sell off, get whatever money they can, revert back to Sony. Like, obviously, I assume the tapes are with Sony. This catalog needs some sort of quality reissue program, whether it's Sundays or a problem with Sony, they don't even like to touch tapes. They're too, no tapes. It's all digital DSDs and things. But come on, let someone put these records out. Now, they're not going to be major sellers. I think the first one could be a solid sales in terms of reissue scale. Wow, possibly too, if it's promoted well. I'll promote the hell out of it if you're listening. Whoever is in contact or whoever is in charge of these tapes. And, you know, it's probably to go through litigation and all the stuff that happens when someone dies off. And he probably, you know, in his death, he's fucking over this band like he's done with every other band he's worked on. Of course, record companies and managers and artists want to make money, and I'm not against that at all. Obviously, if you saw my last rant video, you know that. But you want to get the music out there. The music needs to get out there for the fans, for people, at least the proper music. And I think it's time, long past time, for Moby Grape to have a great catalog reissue program. So thanks for watching. This is good stuff. This is a great band, you know, short-lived, but their legacy, I think there are a lot of people that have heard of Moby Grape that have never heard this music. And I advise get the first one and get that Wow. But be prepared with Wow to go in a few different directions. But I think now with bands like Wilco, early Wilco, with bands like Sunvolt, with Jack White, with, you know, these kind of swampy, bluesy rock bands with a little country edge. You know, they were doing that kind of stuff very early on, you know, before the Byrds, which is more country. But anyway, thanks for watching. I could go on talking about Moby Grape and these two albums for a long time. If you didn't hit the stop button. Mazzy loves you. Take care.